Welcome to NC Political Tea, the home for conservative truth with a side of Southern charm. From the hollers of the Blue Ridge Mountains to the sandy shores of the Outer Banks, we've got our finger on the pulse of every political heartbeat in the Tar Heel State. So grab a sweet tea, kick back, and let's dive deep into the 2024 election madness.
Hello there and welcome. We are live tonight, and I say that to you because we are not perfect, right, Margo?
Funny you should say that. My glasses just broke. Literally. I was like, that's awesome. I was like, I could probably read them with one eye.
That's okay, but it's not a good look. And you know, and I know, we got to look good, man. We got to bring the news, the tea, but look good doing it.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Well, it's been a wild couple of days.
Been a wild couple of days, but we're going to start it off with, I guess the most important thing that happened. I mean, so much has happened, right? It's been a few days since we've been on, and it feels like 5 days are compressed into one every single day as far as news.
Yeah, I mean, you stop off with the Trump assassination attempt and wake up the next day and we're on to the next crazy.
Well, here it is. Here's the next thing. Chad Brown, thank you. First of all, first comment. We got some chat rats in the house. Chad Brown, thank you. I love you. I don't know you, but I love you.
Oh, I know Chad Brown.
Chad Brown, you're a good fella guy with impeccable taste, might I add. So here's what happened first. This is the big thing. Happened last night.
When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. The truth. The sacred cause of this country is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause cherish it so much. A cause of American democracy itself must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation.
Okay, so he never said why he was leaving. Did you notice that?
Listen, I've decided the best way forward. It was enough for me because he didn't decide anything.
Yeah, more like when I had to hire a second taster for my applesauce, I realized it's probably time for me to exit stage right.
Well, when you're the person who stands up earlier in his presidency and says there's nothing special about being an American, and you walk out saying we have to protect democracy, I can't decide which is worse.
Right. But the thing that scares the shit out of all of us, I think I speak for all of us, is he's president now. He's serving for the next several months. Yeah.
You're right.
And so obviously, you know, Kmala is in. We all know that. And if you're watching here in North Carolina, we all know the buzz around our current governor, Roy Cooper, being a VP pick. What do you think? I mean, I don't, by the way, I don't think Shapiro is going to be in the running because guess what? And we'll talk about this later in the show. Democrats don't like us. They don't like Jews. So I don't think that's in the cards.
So the top four picks are Josh Shapiro, which I think he's out. Mark Kelly from Arizona. I don't think they want a West Coast ticket. And Andy Beshear, who's the youngest Democrat governor in the country, and also is in the same predicament as Roy Cooper. He's a second termer lame duck. He's the Democrat governor over a supermajority of Republicans. The difference between Roy Cooper and Andy Beshear is that there are Republicans in Kentucky that actually have some respect for Andy Beshear. And that's just not how it is in North Carolina. And frankly, you know, Kamala's been to North Carolina 15 times with Roy Cooper.
Yeah. I mean, in 2 weeks, a 2-week time period, the chick lived here.
2 weeks, she was here 3 times. And then Jill came too. So not only did they both have been around trying to, I think they're vetting him. They're truly vetting him. And I think, Roy Cooper has obviously got influence because Mandy Cohen, our former quacks, DHHS,
He's
HSS.
now the CDC director. Yeah.
And we know that's a direct result from Roy Cooper. So there's close alliances there, even though he did not deliver in North Carolina for Biden. So it is worrisome. It's very worrisome.
Well, so it's a little worrisome just in North Carolina. We'll overcome that.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you guys how. But look at the guy. I mean, the guy is, you want to talk about low energy, big time. So on the national scene, not a lot of name recognition. I mean, the guy looks like Mr. Rogers. He doesn't have a personality at all. I mean, when we're talking, I don't know if you've heard him speak, you guys, if you're in North Carolina, sadly you have, but country. Okay. I mean, there's no pizzazz. So if you're trying to get young people attracted to the party, well, you'd probably put the Hamas spokesman in that role. But aside from that, I don't think Roy Cooper's going to do it, Margo.
I don't think he's going to do it, but I will tell you who I think he will pull. Roy Cooper is really tight with Stacey Abrams he's very tight with that whole coalition in Georgia. And we know that Georgia is pivotal. And I believe that Roy Cooper is also tight with Ralph Northam from Virginia. I think he's going to pull those people that are diehards that if Stacey tells him to, or if Ralph Northam I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I do believe he has some pull there. And they have to pull Georgia. They absolutely must pull Georgia.
So I'm hearing that in a few polls, of course, all we have are polls, right? It's prognostication. We don't know if that's for sure, but that's all we have. That a VP can give you at best a 3-point lead in and around the state. And that seems like a lot. So North Carolina, I think the average right now is 6 points for Trump over the last 4 weeks. So that would mean what, a +3? I don't know.
I don't think I don't think North Carolina is the aim. I think that if they can take him across the border,
we're red. Yeah.
I think the aim is, can they take him to Georgia and pull some weight over there? The old Jimmy Carter kind of thing. People vote for somebody because they're from the general area.
Stacey Abrams, if you're rocking with Stacey Abrams, you bet your ass you're pulling some weight.
Exactly. And I think there is a faction in Virginia that is still Ralph Northam crazy. And I think that's what they're looking at. They're not just looking at North Carolina. They have to pull the border states that they think they can.
Play.
Yeah.
Regional play. Okay. Well, that's good looks. That's good looks. So I want to give you some election news. And by the way, this next story, it is North Carolina, yes, but it has implications for the rest of the country. So if you've been following North Carolina, we've been in an epic battle trying to get other parties besides the R and the D on. I mean, we've been in an epic struggle, nationwide news. Now, we got our FK on last week. Even in Congress, I think the House is having a hearing on what the hell is going on, and is our North Carolina State Board of Election politically motivated? Yes, they are. Hello. But this is important, Margo. This is important. Cornel West, there's a group suing about Cornel West not being platformed. I'm going to tell you about why this is critical, because Cornel West is a flaming anti-Semite. In fact, in this country, you're allowed to be an anti-Semite. I mean, you can. Now, what do I mean by Cornel West being an anti-Semite? You could be anti-Israel, not a problem. Any of these things are not a problem. But when you say that Israel is uniquely evil in the world, and you spend time over rotating on that, you want to end the state of Israel, accuse it of genocide, which is patently false when it defends itself, then you are an anti-Semite. Now, again, I don't mind him being anti-Semite. The thing I like about him, though, he's out with it.
Oh, yeah. He's not hiding it.
Got respect for that. Got respect for that. So they don't want Cornel West on the ballot because North Carolina is uniquely anti-Semitic. The Democrat Party here is on par with Michigan, and I believe tied for the most anti-Semitic. Now, I'm going to plead my case. I'm going to plead my case, and I welcome dissent. I'm a benevolent dictator.
Listen, I don't think I'm going to dissent on this one with you. I do want to say though that there are other factions also weighing in suing the North Carolina state election board, and that would be Bo Hines. He came out
Yeah,
yesterday, and also said he's going to sue
right.
them because they're not being stewards of good election integrity and they're interfering.
Well, they are. And they are. And so people need to watch this particular one because I'm telling you, if he gets platformed here on the ballot, he'll pull 30 or 40% of the Democrat vote. I promise you. It's going to be embarrassing and it's going to be catastrophic down ballot. Look, in the primary, North Carolina Democrats pulled 16% no preference. So that was an undervote for Joe Biden.
Right.
I think they came in number 4 or 5. And that means they got off their ass and they went out and voted against Biden because he doesn't want the birthplace of Jesus Christ in command and control of the caliphate, Hamas. Essentially, that's what it is, right? He wants the state of Israel to exist.
So I want to throw something out there at you. So Wake County and Mecklenburg County were the highest voters for Nikki Haley. Let's suppose, for sake of this discussion, some of those folks just scooted over to the Republican Party to thwart Donald Trump, and it's significant in Mecklenburg. So let's just say some of those came over just for that. Now you're going to add back to it if Cornel West gets back on the ballot. It'll actually bring that number up, 16% no preference.
Oh, well, that was only in the primary. Now we know in the general. Then in the general, obviously, there are a lot of Democrats that are going to make their voices heard. And I think, too, Black Lives Matter came out yesterday and said, look, this is bullshit. What you're doing is having the super delegates, the big donors, the politicians, select our candidate. And we don't have a voice in electing the candidate. And I was very surprised.
I actually love that. I love that they were actually saying we want democracy, and that, you don't get to pick without a primary. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious to me, patently obvious. So the Democrat Party here in North Carolina is unique. In fact, I've not seen very many like this, where the leaders of the party themselves are actually supporting the end of Israel and really just complete anti-Semitic dirtbags, if you ask me. But that's very interesting because we've got some moderates, right? We've got some, you mentioned some suburban areas and rural areas that they may be Democrat, longtime Democrats. Maybe they're Blue Dog Democrats, but they're Christian. Now, what do Christians feel about Israel?
Well, I just want to be very fair and honest with you. I don't think the anti-Semitic rhetoric and I don't mean to be rude or anything like that. I'm just saying it as a political point. I don't think that resonates here in Western North Carolina for sure, because regardless of whether you are, really paying attention or not, you're a follower of Israel. There are very few non-followers or supporters of Israel in the Western North Carolina region. Now, listen, they're all over Buncombe County because that place is radical, and probably at Western Carolina University because, once again, imports from outside. But true culturally, Appalachian Americans from Western North Carolina, that's not where they believe, because, to take that tone is to go against your own religious beliefs in some respects, to live and to love Jews regardless.
Well, I'll boil it down to you this way. Rural North Carolina has a biblical worldview. The left is against a biblical worldview. Remember, when you take God out of the equation, that is first step of communism. So they're already saying there's no gender, teaching 2, 3, 4-year-olds. There's no God makes mistakes. Parents don't know what they're talking about, etc. So they're really questioning, wow, if God makes mistakes, then he isn't the Almighty, right? That's one of the things. But another thing is to say, look, Israel is not our biblical homeland is as a Jew and a Christian. So that's part of it. But Marxism is very much a part of this, very much a part of the game. So let me just show you. I don't know if you guys were watching the news yesterday, but Bibi Netanyahu spoke, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what was going on the outside was unfreaking believable. Not only desecrating our beloved shared symbols of freedom and of America, which is what Marxists do, right? It was burning the flag and burning Bibi Netanyahu in effigy. So let me show you. I'm circling this guy, this dirtbag, this cretin, this animal, this scum of the earth.
How do you really feel, Sloan?
I mean, look.
I know.
I ain't one to hold back.
I know.
So, look, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. Don't ever apologize for protecting your family and for living up to your religious views. Don't apologize for that.
Well, this is an American issue, to your point. Let's leave the Jews out of it. All right. So you'll see here, P.S. Carolinas on the right. See that flag? Okay. See this same guy, this little fella right here. This is in Chapel Hill. So this same cretin, right, was from Chapel Hill. He was in charge or a part of the protests that desecrated the American flag there, took it down, raised up the flag of a terror nation, right? And absolutely, frat boy summer, baby. That's frat boys are there to rescue, but desecrated our public property there and hit cops. All right, so this is a part of the mob. Look at what they did yesterday. This isn't peaceful protesting.
No. It's not. And I don't know if you saw the footage of the park rangers that were just literally taken down and dragged. Literally.
This is what you're seeing here is raising the flag of Hamas or jihad. Okay. This is in America. Now we've seen these protests, in Gaza. We know that. We've seen them in Paris. We've seen them in the UK, and we've looked and we've said, damn, it's not even safe to go there anymore. I mean, by the way, this is also happening in Raleigh and Durham. We're going to show that, but this is right outside of our capital.
I know. It's truly, it's unbelievable and astonishing at the same time. And you have to ask a lot. Where were the forces to stop this? Once again, they want to always bring back J6, but where were all the forces to make this stop?
Let me tell you something. Any rally up there, legitimate rally supporting President Trump or any other Republican, somebody would raise a flag of Hamas, and that flag would be where the sun doesn't shine. I assure you of that.
True.
Right? I mean, this is against our country. This is against our country. So again, we've got people from North Carolina coming up. So let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you how they got there, actually. Let me tell you where they met. So a big group, a cavalcade, if you will. Now, this is Asra Namani. She's a Muslim American. Excellent reporter. I mean, just an incredible reporter, worked for the New York Times, et cetera, does independent reporting. So she went to go sign up to attend one of these rallies. So in Greensboro, they met at the Islamic Center. In Raleigh, this is where the Islamic Center is here in Raleigh. So they're doing these pickups along the way. And in Charlotte, this is the Muslim Community Center.
They're all over.
We got open borders, right? We've got refugees.
Newcomers.
Oh, damn me. Newcomers. Sorry, guys. I'm getting up on the colloquialisms. I apologize if I offended anyone. So we've got, I don't know, some would call it an invasion. Now, let me tell you, I have been doing reporting on this for the last 8 years. Before I came onto this activism, I reported on terror recruitment on college campuses, mainly here in North Carolina, but other places, and groups that pay for that. One of the groups I'm going to show you is Southern Vision Alliance. Sponsors the majority of the uprisings, whether it's the Antifa protests in 2020 that saw a man killed and scores of police injured, or rallies like this. So here's proof of that, right? Now, this guy, Mo Green, you may recognize him. He is a Democrat running to be superintendent of North Carolina schools in charge of 115 school districts. He's running as a Democrat. He spent 6 years as the executive director of Z. Smith Reynolds. Wants to run our schools. He funded them, you guys, over $1 million over 6 years. Now, he wants to talk about what he did in schools, but this is actually what he did. I wrote for Front Page Mag. So if you know David Horowitz, I wrote for him. This is since 2016, okay, that he's given $2 million to this anti-American, anti-Jewish group. And I chronicle the grants that he's given. So this guy that's running, he's a Democrat and he's the darling of the Democrat Party. He's actually engaged in a war against America and against North Carolina. What do you think?
And our children. I mean, it's really concerning that that what he's doing is, I'm sure he was part of the let's have an anti-Semitic parade at Dudley High School in Greensboro too. It's just really sad to think that they have really indoctrinated the children enough to believe that that's a good thing to do in the middle of at a school. It happened in a school, in the parking lot at a school.
Well, I don't think he has any qualms about this. I mean, he's funded it. He was the executive director. In his capacity, according to their website, he worked with grantees and he did due diligence before he brought that to the board for them to vote on it. He knew what they were doing. By the way, they also tore down the statues here all over North Carolina. Mm-hmm. This man has been at war with North Carolina families since he came on board to Z. Smith Reynolds in 2016. And I will not be quiet about it. I will show everyone, by the way, everyone in rural North Carolina, these. Allahu Akbar. Did you hear that? Back up.
Same guy.
Again, this guy appears to be with Southern Vision Alliance. It's funded by the Ford Foundation. We know they're anti-American as hell, but it's also funded from an organization right here based in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. That would be Z. Smith Reynolds.
Such a tragic thing to see.
There he is again. Burning a foreign leader in effigy. I'd like to see them try to do that with another nation, and I guarantee you it would be shut down.
I can't honestly believe that occurred. And what was interesting to me is, I don't know if you saw that Mike Johnson and several congressmen went out after dark to put the flag back up.
I did.
I think Dan Crenshaw was there, which is amazing because he finally did something. But, they finally went out to take care of what they thought was, a bad thing to happen in the U.S. It was kind of sad to me that they had to wait until dark to do that.
Yeah. Not near. I mean, when we, the American people, feel unsafe to walk in our own street, and I'm Jewish, so you know what they're trying to do to us. When we feel like we can't walk in our own cities, we have been taken over. That is what's happening. I showed you in North Carolina the 3 places they stopped to bring up an angry mob up to DC. And you're right. They need to be held accountable. You know who needs to be held accountable? Z. Smith Reynolds and Mo Green for material support for terrorism. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm going to work my ass off to make sure that happens.
I don't think it's just accountability doesn't stop with just those people. Let's be honest. Josh Stein never talks about the fact that he's Jewish. He actually hides it. And he endorses Mo Green.
Look, I'm going to, after what I'm going to show you, I can give the guy a break because I tell you what, I'm Jewish. And if I had the kind of radicals that I'm about to show you leading the Democrat Party, my ass would be hiding in churches in rural North Carolina and barbecue restaurants too.
Like he is, yeah.
Let me tell you.
Show us, please.
I am not going to be wearing this out at any Democrat campaign events. Now, the Democrats work this way. They've got many what's called coalitions, right? And you can imagine they've got quite a few because they do intersectionality. They've got LGBTQ, they've got an interfaith, which is hilarious. But they've got a Muslim coalition, a Jewish coalition, and an Arab coalition. So here is Anderson Clayton. She is the the chairman of the Democrat Party here, you'll see her here on the far left, right? And she's saying, oh my gosh, glory be, this is so fantastic. We've got a Muslim coalition. Not knocking it. It's great, right? You want to have an affinity group inside? Go ahead. See the guy with the red arrow? Okay, let me tell you a little bit about him. Whoops. Okay, let me go a little bit further. Okay, so this guy is leading the Muslim coalition. Now, he went into hiding once I took all of his screenshots and posted them up. But he's actually putting forth, this is, by the way, one of about 100 posts. He's actually putting forth conspiracy blood libels against Jews. We skin dead. I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg. Skin Palestinians and steal their organs, blah, blah, blah. I mean, this guy is crazy, but that's not all. That's not all. Let me show you. The North Carolina Democrat Jewish Caucus says, guess what, guys? Jews, they hate Bibi Netanyahu. So all this stuff is okay. And by the way, evangelicals, screw you. I weighed in and said, listen, and this is true. I want everybody to listen. A couple things, Margo. Jews worldwide are conservative. Out of all the Jews worldwide, a tiny percent live here in America. We only make up 2% of the population, 0.47% in North Carolina. Now, out of that, 60% are hard left.
I don't understand that. I've never understood that. I don't.
Obama took over. And when Obama took over, a lot of Democrats said, well, okay, it's either, liking Israel or not. And so that's how it went down. So this is their so-called Democrat caucus. Okay. This is another Jewish caucus. I have no idea who they are, but they're accusing Israel of being on stolen land, and they call for the destruction of Israel. This is inside of the North Carolina Democrat Party.
Insane.
Okay. This is the Mecklenburg vice chair of the Democrats. He is equating Hamas with Israel. He is actually saying that Israel and Hamas are the same. This came from Elon. This is absolutely correct. He said this today. This is a hot topic today, obviously, because the Jew hatred, everyone is seeing it. This is exactly right. People who have been lifelong Democrats will not accept this fact. In North Carolina, it is our job to make sure that all voters know that if you have a biblical worldview, it is under attack. Leave Jews out of it. It is under attack. They want Israel gone. So I posted this up, and it's gone like gangbusters. We just started a Jewish Republican Alliance. Proud Jewish Republicans. And we need more. And we need evangelicals to stand by and to stand up.
So can evangelicals join the Jewish Alliance to support you?
Absolutely. We need to come together and to support Israel. And it's the concept of Israel.
Let me be the first evangelical. I guess I'm an evangelical, or just how about just a Christian, to pledge my alliance with you in any way I can.
Yes. And let me tell you what we're doing. We're actually going to rural areas and going into churches. And we're talking about the special relationship between Christians and Jews and Israel and the U.S. It's fundamental.
I'm so glad to be a part of that. And I would do anything I can. And, I really believe that what is going on in this country is more than just a religious battle. It's a true fight of good and evil.
Yes, absolutely. And the fact that, a lot of people don't have a historic memory of 9/11 or the Boston bombing.
Oh, my memory about what has happened to the Jewish people goes back before that. I was going to attend Munich. I was in Germany to attend Munich when that massacre happened at the Olympic Village.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, these attacks, again, it's somewhat to do with Jews, but it's an attack on all of us. And if you think that this isn't going on where you live, if it's not, thank God, but it will be soon. As you mentioned, Asheville, you cannot even walk around in Asheville. You can't do it.
What's funny is radicalism finds radicalism. And what I've noticed is when the BLM thing was going on, we would have folks come through here to get to Asheville from Atlanta. So it's absolutely true. Hatred finds hate because they have to have haters together.
Well, that's why control of the educational system is absolutely paramount. You look at some of these kids, they barely look 20.
I know. And you really have to wonder, like, who raised them? And I noticed one of the things that bothers me is you'll see the same kind of kids, out there going after cops that has nothing to do with this particular, anti-Semitic, rhetoric, but they'll go after cops because those items align to them in their myopic view. It's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, someone is teaching them to hate. I
Correct.
argue that the system is doing it. I mean, look at this. This is from the Democrat Jewish caucus. I mean, look at the attitude towards evangelicals. If you look at the subtext, this is about America. This is about the institutions of America. Yeah, we need to stop hatred towards everyone. Absolutely. And that brings me to this. Was it me or did I hear something about unity? In North Carolina, Nancy Pelosi came here this weekend for a unity dinner.
But she didn't want to talk about Joe Biden. She didn't want to say anything about him.
I mean, no, absolutely. And Nancy Pelosi, being a sack of wrinkles that she is, went out and absolutely unloaded on Bibi Netanyahu. Is the worst speech ever. I'm going to see if I can find it, etc. And then turned right around and said, "Oh, but gosh, you guys, you need to cut the desecration of our, Liberty Bell, etc., and kind of ease back on the burning people in effigy."
That didn't go over well. They didn't listen.
Well, no, she said that after. After she stoked hatred. Yeah. So I'm gonna get this up here and show you. Like I said, I'm winging it here. You got to talk and fill some airspace while
it's kind of because we decided to go live instead of tape tonight. So we do have a lot of extra airspace. I did find it interesting. Roy Cooper was following her around at that dinner like a lap dog.
Poor Roy. Bless his pea-picking heart. So here she is. She says this yesterday. She's, "Oh, wow, this guy's terrible. Many of us love Israelis. We just hate this son of a bitch." Right? Of course, he said nothing factually incorrect. Nothing. And the families of hostages were there.
I mean,
what a terrible, terrible thing. And are you reading this? Our flag is this is after the desecration.
She's very reactive to all this, but she knew what was going on. I don't know what's worse, her reactivity to all this or Rashida Tlaib sitting in there with a war criminals paddle.
Yeah. Now look, she, again, being anti-Semite is not illegal. And there's something refreshing about someone who puts it out there.
Well, there is decorum, and she rode the edge of it yesterday, and she has become the center of many memes because of it.
Well, Fetterman wore a suit. Speaking of decorum.
That's true.
He dressed up. So I'm very proud of him. He went, I thought he'd just wear maybe a black hoodie with a white tie imprinted.
Yeah.
He went all out and wore a suit.
And there were some folks there that were, not surprising, but we never would have expected them to be in the U.S. The honorees that Bibi specifically spoke to, the soldiers, that was heartfelt and that was heartwarming because we've all been in that position. We've had soldiers in wars, and to see them come to America and show themselves, that was really inspiring.
Well, they had a Druze there. So for those of you that don't know, if maybe a lot of us have been to Israel, but you may not know this. So Druze are a religion that's, very old religion. It's an amalgamation of the Muslim faith and the Hindu faith, believe it or not. So there was a Druze soldier there. There's a Muslim soldier there. So this whole thing about the hatred between Muslim and Jews in Israel is a myth because Muslims and Jews fight together. They are brothers in arms. This is fighting against evil. They see it that way.
Well, I noticed when he said Bedouin, that was clear to me that he may not be Jewish, and that he stopped and ran, 8 miles, 6 miles? Yeah. That was amazing. That every one of the stories was amazing.
Yeah.
And I personally found it was kind of inspiring, because what he said was the truth that a lot of Americans really haven't heard. If you're not on Twitter every day or X every day, you really don't know what's transpired in Israel when on October 7th. Most people don't know. They just know what the news tells them, which is whatever they want to censor. But he told the truth.
Well, real history is important. Real history is important, and it's important for people to be taught that and realize that. And so I'm a big fan of teaching full history. I think that has to be done. And by the way, I have talked a lot tonight and said, Democrats are anti-Semitic. I mean, it does seem to be the party, sadly. It's Jeremy Corbyn effect. And so, for the Labour Party. So the UK just had an election. Now, the UK is a little bit different from the US because it's got 3 or 4 viable parties.
Right.
And they have a lot of seats. And so what happened was, the Labour Party won overwhelmingly. So the old leader of the Labour Party was a vapid anti-Semite, Jeremy Corbyn, and he destroyed it to the ground. And that was recently, like 3 years ago.
Yeah. And he just recently did that in the last, and then they just had a recent election, which that pushed it more toward that way.
Well, the interesting thing with that election is
Nigel.
Nigel Farage did get a seat, though. Kafir won, a guy last name Kafir. And what he had to do, this is what Kmala has to do to win. I'm going to tell everybody. In North Carolina, you can times 10 on what I'm about to say. What this guy Kafir did with the Labour Party, he had to get the communists in his party and the anti-Semites and the Islam under control enough to get past the election. So he made a deal with the devil and essentially got control on the outside. Now, Kamala's been a prosecutor. I've heard she's a real bitch on the inside. So she can throw the hammer down, right? She can do this, but they're going to have to quell the rebellion because this is a very evangelical state, Margo. I mean, this could have down ballot implications.
Well, goes back to what I've been saying. Vote closest to your home first. Vote your safety first.
Yeah.
If you follow the rule of voting safety closest to home first, you're going to pick Republicans because we're law and order, and you'll follow that up the ballot.
Dude.
And we will solve a lot of problems with that. But I do want to say, I have watched things on Reddit. I've seen women who are they're fanatical about this. They truly believe if Donald Trump wins, they're going to lose their uterus. I don't know where he's going to take it, but it's insane to hear the type of arguments even Roy Cooper's brought out. They fall in the sort of Project 2025 and abortion rights that are, you can still have an abortion in North Carolina for 12 weeks and 6 days. So you have to do your research and you have to be able to combat the fear mongering that they're going to bring.
You just touched on the seminal issue. It's safety, law and order. And it's easy to run your mouth about things that will never happen or whatever, or may not happen, or these conspiracies. But I'm going to tell you what, volunteers, what I want you to do in every single district is this. Sadly, you're going to have cases of crime, whether it's school crime or in cities or whatever. You've got to present people with examples of what's going on in their own backyard.
Yes, absolutely. The more you can show them that your local community is banding together to get rid of drug clinics in a neighborhood, or I'm talking about my own self here, or that you care enough, you care enough about the people in your community that when COVID was going on, you literally took the banner and went to the nursing home and dropped off things. Find the people in your community that are actually doing the work because they're doing it to keep you safe, or your elderly safe, or your children safe, and band with them because they're going to band with the right people in politics.
Yes. Your judges are important. Your county commissioner, your school board. There are a lot of school board. In fact, Mo Green, he believes in, zero discipline at all whatsoever. I mean, I cannot tell you the problems that are happening now with teachers leaving, gangs taking over. I mean, it's like Chicagoland inside of schools.
In North Carolina.
Absolutely everywhere. It's not just isolated to a few counties. It's fairly widespread, and that has to stop. So, you just touched on something. Law and order is something we need to be messaging on, because Republicans stay true to its brand promise on that. People need that. You have to show these protests. You have to show the videos of people burning the flags and that they're here for North Carolina, because they feel comfortable as hell doing it. They've been doing it down in Chapel Hill. They've been doing it in Durham and Raleigh and Asheville.
They might get their ass beat if they did that up here. I'm just telling you.
Oh,
I mean, it's a different mentality. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, but I'm just saying there would be consequences. There's a different mentality. Yeah. Well, and the difference here is, you have a dispersed population of political groups in a large central area. We're not like that here. When you're 79% or 80% Republican and pushing up, people won't tolerate that.
And this isn't, I think what we're talking about here, what we're centering around, Margo, is that public safety and feeling safe in your neighborhood is not a political issue, nor is, look, we didn't come over here on the same boat, right? But we're all here together. We're all in it together, as MLK said. So we have a shared destiny in this country. And when you see people burning the flag, I want y'all to show everyone that when you see this stuff going on, this is more than political.
It is more than political. It's evil.
Yeah, this is foundational, and people know it. So I would be remiss if I didn't point out the Democrats who do share our values. Richie Torres, I have a crush on him. I do.
He's a fighter.
He just stands up for his values. I mean, we have zero in common politically. He's a black gay guy, Hispanic guy from the Bronx, totally Democrat. But damn if he doesn't stand up for what he believes in. And that is this being an American pride, and a special relationship between the U.S. and Israel. And this is proof that this is an American issue. What he's saying here, guys, is when people are calling for the death of America and burning the flag and saying Allahu Akbar, believe them. Absolutely.
Because you're next. And it's not about one type of American. It's about all of America.
Correct. So we're all in this together, which brings us to this, Dan Bishop, we got to win this. We have got to win the Attorney General here in North Carolina. This is the big one.
It's huge. And, people do not know Jeff Jackson like some of us do, because I follow him on TikTok and harass him daily if I can. But, he's one of those people. One of the things about Jeff Jackson is he lies by omission. That's his thing. He likes to lie by omission. He doesn't want to tell you that he was front and center to defund the police. He doesn't want to tell you that he does not want ICE, that he wants no bail. He doesn't want to he wants cashless bail. He wants to just do away with all of that. He's a radical. And he's also a lot like Kmala, whatever, Becky with the good hair. He's a lot like her, because his experience is not long, but it's been very positioned.
He's a Democrat. So there you go. So Dan Bishop said this. Here's an update. It is from Dan. Dan is a Republican, the law and order Republican, running for Attorney General of the state of North Carolina. And like I just showed you, we freaking need it. From a DC enforcement source, a charge against 4 people, including a 15-year-old, were dropped. So this is the kind of thing. This is why they feel completely emboldened, these anti-American terrorists, to do this stuff.
Because there's no consequences. And that's the one thing that Dan is adamant about. There will be consequences. I think the NC Ledge tried really hard to get that juvenile sentencing bill across the finish line. Those are consequences. We need some consequences. Consequences. What is it? What about the consequences song?
I don't remember that one. Immediately, that's left my mind. Yeah, but I'll tell you, in North Carolina, the violent crime has skyrocketed. And according to the DOJ, it is similarly because 16 and 17-year-olds are committing violent crimes, including murder, gang-related murder, double murders, triple homicides in Charlotte. So, and when you have them going to a juvenile detention center and having this adjudicated through juvenile courts,
where there's no punishment. There's really no punishment handed out. Oh, you're young, you're under 18. We're going to slap your hand. It'll go on your record. But if you're good for 2 years, you're out and it's okay.
Well, it's a catch and release. So you've got the officials in Charlotte begging and pleading. And this is the chief of police and saying, we arrest these people, these kids. They've knifed someone. They've done it repeatedly. And all we can do is bring them in for an hour or two and release them back out.
Yeah. Well, I know Dan has been, he was actually in the meeting or the hearing the other day and brought up some really good points when Cheadle was there, Secret Service Director Cheadle. She's no longer Secret Service Director Cheadle. He's been right in the center of things, though. I've really watched how he's positioned himself on that committee as well as the Homeland Security Committee. He's really doing great things.
Well, he's a leader.
And that's what he's going to bring back here. The fact he knows about Homeland Security, the fact he knows about the Secret Service and the FBI, those things matter. He's on the Judiciary Committee as well. So those things all matter.
Well, they do. And the thing I love about him is he's been very consistent throughout his career. He's had several roles. So he's been in the General Assembly, to your point. He's been in Congress, and now he's going to be over the state. So it's a perfect evolution for him to do this, because you're right, he knows how the machinery works, and he's been in the courtroom quite a lot.
Well, I think the biggest thing to me is he could have easily slid back in that race and taken over, in Congress again. There would have been no competition. He would have clearly won, but he decided that this is a fight worth fighting for, to come back home and to save North Carolina. He's part of us. That's what we want to do, save North Carolina. And I really admire him for that. It's a different type of personality that says, no, I don't want to do that, even though it's a shoe-in and I've already won it. Because he had no competition, but to come home and say, my state is worth saving, that's a big deal.
Something scares the hell out of me about the idea of a TikTok star, Jeff Jackson, being in control of the entire security apparatus of my state.
Okay, I'm going to probably make this a very non-political.
No offense to you. No offense to you.
No. Oh, listen, I could care less about that. That wasn't even going to touch on the TikTok thing. But politically incorrectly, I can't look at Jeff Jackson when he speaks and not hear Elmer Fudd. I just can't. He has a lisp, and every time I hear it, I just want to say that wascally wabbit. Just do.
I think Elmer Fudd at least had a shotgun, correct?
Yeah, he did. But Jeff Jackson's afraid of guns.
I can't imagine Jeff being able to handle the kickback on your everyday gun that's prepared with deer ammo.
Sloan, you cannot be serious. He's in the Army, and Jags carry guns.
They do, but they don't use them in the courtroom, do they?
No, but that's how Bo Biden got a Bronze Star, because he was a JAG in the Army. He wrote himself up for it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
I'm just joking.
I do stand corrected, and in all honesty, I do thank him for his service. And I did forget about that. So maybe okay. But he's still a TikTok star. He still is for open borders. He's still
lying his ass off on his TikTok, Sloan.
Yeah. Well, I don't like a TikTok star being with perfect hair, being in control of safety and security. I mean, that is, of course, superficial stuff.
It is, but I have to tell you, my daughter was enamored with him. She thought he was wonderful. I had to she's not young. She's 32. I had to sit down with her and explain to her, hey, look, because his mouth is moving, he is lying. He may not be lying directly, but if you go research, it was shocking to her when she would text me and go, oh my God, do you know what he said is not really all the whole thing? I'm like, no kidding.
Well, he's in for an ignominious loss because people are ready for law and order. We offer a law and order ticket for sure. But we're going to leave you with this because we always do. Trump has to win by 5 points in North Carolina. It's a must win. And this is important. I know, Margo, you always talk, you're so good about talking about voting from the top up. It's very exciting.
Bottom to the top. Bottom to the
I'm
top.
telling you. Yeah, I mean, I've run campaigns before and I've been the finance person behind it, which really gets me sweating. And I always, it's about not only our message, but putting money behind that message, right? And when you're talking about from the bottom up, having a lot of money as a party is what we need for that. So what's going to happen, unfortunately, in some of our rural areas where there's not a lot of money in the races, et cetera, people are going to vote for the top down.
Of course they are. Yeah. And that's where it's incumbent upon us to proactively have people out in front of those polls and in front of people, telling them the truth and giving them the literature. And that's another thing, another reason why, in my own personal view, it's important that we get 100 ballots, every ballot from every county, and we go through them, because
online,
if we don't help people understand who they're voting for, they'll vote for anybody just because someone told them to.
So yes, and this, what I'm showing you here, this was at DC. I've seen it in Charlotte. I've seen it in Durham. We've seen pictures of it in Nashville. This is something we can talk about at work. This is something we can talk about to our neighbors. This is something we can talk about in our churches. This is something we can even post online and say, even if we're not political, can you believe this is going on in our country?
Right.
These conversations, you need to have these conversations now before you can't have these conversations anymore.
Well, and I think you can take it down a level. It's going on in our country. It's going on in our state. It's going on in our district, because it happens in Nashville. That's in our district.
Yeah.
So how close do you want it to get to you?
Yeah. I mean, it does happen, and we can't have it. And this is what they want. I showed you the route that they took to go up there. I showed you where they're organizing. I showed you who paid for it tonight. And I also showed you that key Democrat leaders are responsible for also putting out this anti-American, anti-Christian bilge. And maybe you know a good guy, and there are plenty of them, that's a Democrat that you've known for years, etc. And he would never support any of this. It doesn't matter, because his party is pressuring him to toe the line and to do it. And that's why every Democrat needs to be voted out or never to be in the spot to begin with. This is what they're being pressured to support.
It's an unusual time, and it calls for strong will, and it calls for factual information, and it really calls for us all to gather and bring 10 to win.
That's it. 10 to the polls. Give them a ride. Bug the hell out of them, which is my favorite tact.
I'll just buy them lunch.
Yeah, you cannot rest on the fact that Trump is a juggernaut and Kamala is a loser of a candidate. We cannot predict what's going to happen. So we've got to have these conversations. Margo, thank you as always.
Always.
It's fun.
It's always fun to be with you, Sloan. Look forward to seeing you again. We may not see you for a couple of days because you're going to be busy, but we'll see you soon.
Voter integrity, by the way. Voter integrity is Tuesday night. We're going to have Jim Womack on. He's going to walk you through, whether you're Republican or Democrat, how the voting works, how good people are protecting the vote, and how you can rest assured that your vote is going to count. And there are hardworking people that are going to make sure that your vote counts.
And you can join the group, the North Carolina Election Integrity Team. So I look forward to working with Jim on Tuesday while Sloan takes a vacation.
Excellent. All right.
Have a good evening.
Guys. Thank you. Share this with 10 people.
That's right.
Bye.